All right, in this video, we are going to look at using custom functions. And this is just an intro to it. If you are not using custom functions in FileMaker, you need to. It's invaluable as your solution grows and you're writing more and more complex scripts and calculations. It's just amazing. Give you an intro as to how it works. It's located up here under the File menu. Go to Manage and choose Custom Functions. Within here, you can create new custom functions, you can import existing ones, etc. So for the sake of this, I just kind of want to use one that already exists. So there is a website out there I use a lot called briandunning.com, and it's a website where they store custom functions. So people have written these custom functions. So you might find the function that you want already out there. But if you don't, and you write your own, if it's something you think other people can use, you can contribute to this website. So let me kind of show you how this works. So this particular custom function returns the academic season of any given date. Okay, so for instance, let's go in here and set this up. Basically, we want to create a new custom function. And for the sake of this, I'm just going to call this academic date. Okay. And then I'm going to paste into here my function that I copied off that website. Now you can look here at this function and briefly we don't have to go through every bit of it, but just so that you can see what it's doing. It's setting a variable for month, and that takes the month out of the date that you hand it. Year, and it takes the year out of the date that you hand it. And then it runs a case statement. It says if the month equals 1 or if the month equals 2, then we're going to call it winter and year minus 1. Why? Because this particular function is written to make January and February part of quote unquote winter the previous year. That's just the way they wrote it. Yours could be anything you want, but each one of these case statements gives a test and what the results should be. So you might find yourself writing like a really complex kind of case statement, if-then statements, all kinds of fun stuff. What you don't want to do is have to replicate this throughout your solution over and over and over. You want to be able to write this, get it working one time, and just reuse this code. And that's what a custom function is. So the parameter that we have to work with here is called the date. So I'm going to make a parameter and I'm going to call it the date. Okay, and I click plus, adds it to my parameters. Okay, that's really the only parameter to this custom function. Okay, so I say okay, I save this, and here's the way this works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write a quick script that enters the projected date into this field. So I'm going to go to scripts. I'm going to make myself a script and I'm going to say enter projected date. And for this particular case, I'm just going to assume that the user wants to run this and they will always want to insert the current date, whatever the current date is. You could do anything you want, but there just happens to be a function already for that. So I do current date and I target the field that I just made, which is called projected date. And when I run that particular script, you will see that it enters in the current date. Now, here's where the fun comes in. I can then use that same script and call on my custom function to enter in the season. So what I would do is I would use a insert calculated result, and I'm going to insert it into the season field. And now the calculated result, how I want to get that calculated result is I am going to type in the name of my custom function here. And as you can see, as I start typing it in, there's my custom function in that list. So I do custom function of academic date, and then it already gives me this highlighted. So it wants to know what date it's going to be working with. Well, I already have that date because I just entered it in the previous step of my script. So I do projected date. So what this does is it runs the custom function, hands it the current date, and then it will hand me back a result based upon how the function was written. So I say OK. I go ahead and save my script. And now you'll see that whenever I run this, enter projected date, it not only enters the current date, but it enters the result of that custom function. That's pretty cool. So anytime in my solution from then on, if I need to record or display dates this way, I can always call on that function. Now, this is just one example, but other examples would be things like, what if you inserted a timestamp? I'm not going to go all the way through this particular example, but so what if you wanted to insert a timestamp? Well, I can certainly create a new script. And there is a function here for insert current time, or I can do insert current date. There is also a calculated, if you do insert calculated result into the target timestamp, you could specify your calculated result, and you could look over here in this list of items, and you can say get current host timestamp, or just get current timestamp. What's the difference? If you're connected through FileMaker to a host, it will go all the way to the host machine to get the timestamp. If you just choose get current timestamp, it will take the timestamp from your current local machine that you're running on right now. So you might want either one depending upon your use case. But if I do host timestamp, there we go, and I save that. So now whenever I run this particular script, it inserts my timestamp. Well, one place where you might want to use a custom function is, what if you were entering a timestamp and you didn't want it to come back at 4:04? Maybe you want it to round to the nearest hour, forward, backward, shave off the seconds. What if you had some sort of complex use case where you needed to modify that auto-entered amount? That's where these custom functions come in, because you can certainly go in, write yourself a really amazing, extensive, calculated result using the FileMaker calculation functions. But you can take it a step further and save that calculated result as a custom function, to where from that point forward, all you have to do is hand it the timestamp, and it does, and it returns the calculated result for you. So that is pretty cool. So there are tons and tons and tons of reasons to use these. If you go out and look on that website, there are tons and tons of functions available. And you can search and find the things that you want. And if they work for you, great. There's no registering. There's no fee for this. This is just FileMaker users helping other FileMaker users out. But tons of custom functions. You need to use them if anything that you're doing starts to get complex. Just a pro tip there.